Let us understand the gladiators, since they were pretty cool and all. The Roman gladiators are some of the most enchanting figures in history and have shaped how we view entertainment in ancient Rome. The gladiators' place in modern society, however, has been cemented through the countless novels and films inspired by them, such as The Hunger Games, Spartacus, and much more. Facing death on a daily basis is not something to take lightly, and the thought of living such a daredevil lifestyle has caused many to ponder, including myself, what was life like as a gladiator? Well, the word gladiator comes from the Latin word gladiators, in reference to their chosen weapon, the gladius, which means short sword. The early gladiators did not use the eccentric weapons like nets and tridents that are portrayed in the movies, but instead were given basic instruments to fight with. Some historians believe that gladiator fighting even dates back to the Etruscans, who resided in the northern part of the Italian peninsula. They would have gladiator fights and chariot races as sacrifices to the gods. However, it has been argued that the actual purpose was to commemorate the death of wealthy nobles and aristocrats. The slaves and prisoners that fought demonstrated valor and courage, which presented the virtues of those who had died. Gladiator fighting as a form of entertainment lasted more than 650 years. It was a popular Roman pastime from 105 BC to 404 AD, where the construction of amphitheaters or colosseums were built throughout Rome from modern-day Spain to Turkey. Early on, people who fought as gladiators were slaves, convicts, and prisoners of war. From all over the empire, slaves and convicts were pitted against each other as it made their owners money and kept the lower class happy. When the Colosseum in Rome was built in 80 AD, being a gladiator had become a lucrative profession, so much so that gladiator schools started training volunteers. They mostly consisted of ex-soldiers and men desperate to make a living, and even some wealthy nobles who craved the glory the arena could bring. Gladiators were the equivalent of modern-day pop stars and were treated like so. Just imagine the attention and fame that LeBron receives today. Now imagine LeBron as a gladiator, receiving the same amount of fame. That would be the equivalent to the status that some gladiators held. They would even have their own sandal lines, called the Julius Caesar Sevens. Gladiator schools were institutions that trained gladiators to fight for them in the arena. There were numerous schools across Rome, but only the best got to have their gladiators fight in the Colosseum. Agents or representatives of the schools would scout for new recruits either by purchasing slaves or trying to persuade them to fight in the pits for the promise of wealth and glory. New fighters were first assessed on their stature and fitness level to determine what their capabilities were. They were also given tattoos on the face, arms, leg, and chest to make it difficult to hide if they escaped. The ethnic background of the recruit played a huge part in what weapon and armor they received, as it normally represented their homeland. The trainers in the schools were often retired gladiators who were masters in a specific form of combat. The initial training of a gladiator did not involve real weapons. Instead, wooden props were used. New gladiators were a commodity or investment. The owners of the schools would spend the first few months training and conditioning them for fights, in order to see a return on their investment and make profit, so a lot of measures went into protecting new fighters. The day for a gladiator started at dawn when the cells were unlocked and the first meal began. Gladiators were fed 3 times a day, and new gladiators were not allowed to speak and had to remain shackled during mealtimes. Diets consisted of protein and carbohydrates, and only water was drunken, no wine. Despite popular belief, gladiators were actually encouraged to be a little plump in order to add a layer of protection. To reiterate, gladiators were an investment, so it wouldn't be good for the owners of the schools if the gladiators died. Historians say that most likely 1 in 5 gladiators actually died, and some even suggest it was 1 in 10. Despite this, they only lived into their 20s, which is hard to comprehend compared to today's standards. Also, it was the emperor who decided if you would die or not, often invoking the opinion of the audience to help him decide. So whether you fought or not, your life was in the hands of the emperor. It is not commonly presented, but female slaves were also forced to fight alongside their male counterparts. However, Emperor Domitian preferred to pit them against dwarves for his particular entertainment. Women fought as gladiators for around 200 years before Emperor Septimus banned their participation from the bloodthirsty games. Gladiators might not have had much to look forward to in life, but they could fall with some peace, knowing they would be well compensated in death. The trained gladiators joined formal associations called collegia to ensure that they were provided with proper burials and that compensation was given to their families. Kind of like a modern-day labor union, except you get the benefits after you die. It is a little known fact that some gladiators could marry, have kids, and leave inheritance for their family. So, apart from all the killing and being a pawn in another person's game for the entertainment of the Roman public, life wasn't that bad. The Colosseum has become a symbol of ancient Rome, its society and culture. But the gladiators who fought inside it are incomprehensible to anything we see or do today, which is why they are so fascinating. And now you understand the life of a gladiator. These videos take a long time to produce, from writing the script to animating that. If you could show your support by subscribing and liking the video, it would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching.